everyone. Hope everyone's doing okay today. I thought we would do another 2-card spread, just like we did the other day. I wonder, maybe they want me to use a different deck. But, so one of the things that I've been channeling lately that might be of interest to some of you, as some of these concepts were really hard for me to understand, given the fact that it really goes against everything we were taught. It's kind of like societal standards, family values, roles, masks, whatever you want to call them, personas that we carry around here in life that really go against the grain of what I'm being told what it actually means. So one of the things that I've been working on, and I think I've gotten a little bit more of a handle on it and understanding it more, was fear. Fear has really been something that I've gotten in my own way with it, definitely. As many of you probably can agree with that. But one of the things that Spirit really kind of has said to me is talking with me about how, you know, everyone hears the talking about, you know, like all emotions are valid, and discounting any of them is not honoring who you are. So yes, we're gonna stay with that idea, but the other aspect of them just being valid, and just understanding maybe more of the root about where they come from, or why it is that we're experiencing them, is, let's talk about fear. Fear, what Spirit has told me, is actually a gift. It's a gift. So like, for instance, when we're feeling the anxiety and the fear as it kind of rolls in, it's our soul telling us that we're ready to make a change. If we weren't ready to make a change with what it is that we're experiencing, we wouldn't have fear. And I always kind of thought it was the other way around, where it was like the fear was telling us, don't do that, you know, like, take a left turn. Well, actually, don't take a left turn. I take left turns and those don't turn out so good for me. Take a right turn. But nevertheless, it's like, you know, fear is actually, it's your body's way of saying, hey, do something different. You're ready to make the change. Let's see. You're ready to transmute. So if you think about, like, our emotions are feelers, you can say, okay? So they're feelers, and sometimes they steer us, or how we interpret it, it steers us in the wrong direction, because maybe our ego is kind of taking the lead in that game, which I would say, get the old woman driving instead. She knows a little bit more. But, you know, what I'm saying is that it's our job here when we come to Earth is to transmute whatever it is that we kind of came in, like our blueprint that says, okay, these are the things that we're going to work on. We're going to develop, we're going to break through, we're going to come to a new understanding. And I mean, even me saying those things kind of gives you an understanding that, you know, we didn't come here to go like skinny dipping every single day. And I'm not to say that you can't do that too, but, you know, we came here to work. Otherwise, there would be like, this would be any other planet that you could just take a nice little relaxing vacation on. I mean, the idea of duality, and this being the only, at least from what I'm showing, place in the universe that you can actually experience the duality in 3D in this way with free will, would mean that we would come here to work on some issues, to understand what's pulling at us and why it's pulling at us, and how to kind of draw them closer together. And that's the whole idea of the whole twin flame, or a very, very strong soul connection, soulmate, where you two have agreed that you guys are going to take on each other's stuff, and as you heal, that allows the other person to heal, and as that other person is healing, that allows you to heal. So it kind of, it works like this. You know, you see like the, like, I think it's like the medical symbol. I channel it a little bit differently where, you know, you have the Kundalini rising, but I channel it as almost like a needle and a thread. So we're trying to figure out a way to thread that needle through so we can start sewing up. I mean, they're bringing me to the Disney show Brave, where the whole idea of the movie was about the daughter making amends with the mother, but in actuality, it's really just an extension of herself, her younger self, her older self. And then at the end, because she ripped the tapestry when her mother just burnt up her bowl, that bitch. But anyways, no, I shouldn't say that about Disney shows. That's mean. Anyways, but at the end, the daughter was able to thread the needle and sew the tapestry back up and repair the relationship. And that's really about what our time here on Earth is about. It's about discovery, but it's also about repair. It's repairing what we've experienced that we've allowed to entrap ourselves. And that's why this idea of imprisonment, you know, I mean, we create that reality with what it is that we make up in our minds. And unfortunately, we've been taught to make up all the stuff in our minds that would actually keep us entrapped. And that's what's happening in these recent times, is we're breaking through those veils, we're breaking through those walls, and we're understanding that your fear is actually telling you to just do it. You know, the whole Nike sign, just do it. I mean, I'm surprised, like every day, like everything that I grew up around or that I see, and just how spiritually connected everything is. You know, like sometimes I think like, well, can I just look at a McDonald's sign and think about the cheeseburgers? But you know, that's just not how it works. The spirit has been all with us all along the way, giving us all sorts of signs on a constant flow, a constant stream, to help us become more alert, or to help us wake up, or to help us to make some of the changes that we wanted to, that we signed up for in our contract. So this idea too of people that hurt us, the people that hurt us, and that's not to say that we should just like, oh, who cares, no big deal. No, that's not how it works. It's a very complicated process. But the people that have hurt us are the people that likely have cared most deeply for us. They've been willing to take on that role to put us in a position that we would break through, that we would break out, that we would learn to love ourselves enough to not take whatever it was that was being dished out to us, or for us to learn exactly what it is that we do like or that we don't like. So a lot of our past experiences that were just like, oh my God, that's terrible. They were actually, there's a beauty that's disguised underneath it. And I think that any of us, as we look back and we kind of see some things that we've gotten through, we can really appreciate the inner strength. So this idea too about, you know, different signs, your astrological sign, we all carry all of those signs. So like, for instance, when you're like in a place that you're really presenting with strength, well, then you're taking on the Leo at that time. You know, when, you know, I mean, I'm a Taurus, but there are many things about my personality that I really take on this idea of a fire sign. So everything is interchangeable, but going back to this idea that, you know, fear is a gift. And if you look at all the words that we use on a regular basis and you start breaking them down and start kind of understanding, well, what does that mean to you? Like, for instance, they had said, I used, the person that was sharing this with me, she used the word practitioner. And the practitioners, there's predict in that word, there's an ER in the word, and there's an ION, like ion. So if I break down that word, I have somebody that is there trying to predict like what might happen. So you think about being kind of like more in a manifester mode. And the ion is like just how negative and positives, how we're all energy, how we interconnect. And then the ER is like what would happen if you went to the ER. You need some immediate help at that moment, or some turnaround, or some support. So just kind of looking at, you know, how different words actually mean a lot more than what just the definition in the dictionary tells us. So so let's see here. What did they say? So it says the fear will grow more and more intense as time goes on, as your higher self is trying to unify with you. It's that crank up when you get really extreme anxiety. It's not because you're broken or there's something wrong with you. It's because there's something that's going on internally that's telling you something needs to change. Your soul is not comfortable with where this is at, and this is not part of your contract, or your contract says, you know what, this is done, it's time to move forward, it's time to move on. So it's a way that it's getting at you to keep pushing you forward. So it just says, is the ego talking loudly? Is the soul trying to get my attention? And this idea that, you know what, here's another really important thing to think about, is that fear carries a vibration. So if what we're trying to do each day is to kind of be at a vibration that is at least baseline where we're comfortable, and then pushing it to become higher, because remember, our vibration not only affects us, it affects everything around us. That's the whole idea of the law of oneness. We all affect each other. So going back to this idea though, if I've gotten myself in this situation that there's a lot of fear and anxiety that's attached to it, understand that affects my vibration. So that pulls my vibration down. As my vibration is pulled down, well, then that opens up doors of more of my ego to talk to me, and then I'll likely listen more. So it's within my favor that when I am experiencing these pretty extreme emotions that are disturbing and causing me some distress, for me to manage those. Not only because my mother said so, my spouse said so, the PO said so, the president said so. It's because Jesse said so. Jesse said that, you know what, for me to get through this moment, for me to make better decisions, I have to put the oxygen mask on me first. I have to manage my emotions right now before I start making any decisions. You know, kind of going with that theory that, you know, if you're going to crash and I hope nobody's going to crash in an airplane, but if you're going to crash in an airplane, you got to put the mask on first before you go helping other people, because otherwise you're dead and they're dead too. But it says it carries an energy that's often the energy of 38. And remember, 38 to me is very shame-based. So if we're thinking about the changes that we're trying to make, a lot of it has to do with the things that we're attached very deeply to that tell us that there's something wrong with us. Or even if you're someone that tends to kind of project that out and everyone else has got the problem, it helps you start to understand that, you know what, everything leads back to the same spot. It's all energy. So whether it's this person or it's me, we're all a part of the scenario. So it's only within your control to look at what you can do and how you can manage yourself. Don't worry about anybody else at that moment. When you're really in a place that you're trying to crawl out, worry about yourself. You can, if you feel called to do something for the community, for the greater purpose, wonderful later on. But right now, take care of yourself. Get yourself out of the hole first. So 38 carries is the shame vibration, and working through fear is about working to bump yourself out of that. Because remember, our aura then has that, carries that energy, and as we're walking around with that energy, if we're manifestors, if we have source and we have the ability to create, co-create, then if I'm putting that energy out there, then that's what the universe is going to give me. So it's a magnet. That's all it is. And I know it's kind of a little hard for us to understand that, because we think like, no, well, you know, I'm in this situation because of the things that I'm doing or not doing. No, you know, the universe co-creates with us. So our reality is based upon what it is we think we can do, what it is that we think we can be, what it is that we think we deserve. And then the universe says, okay, you know, they may not like it, but that's the deal. That's the deal coming here. Let's see here. We're able to communicate with fear. We can see the masked friend is trying to teach us. So often we think, you know, the ego kind of gets a bad rap, where truthfully the ego is trying to protect us. It just doesn't necessarily have like the best coping responses. It doesn't necessarily it's kind of like this little kid who sees, you know, the world revolves around him. So that's what our ego projects. Now, as we get better at taming the ego, as managing the ego, then the ego is less sensitive But, oh, someone's calling again. But it's less, we're less sensitive to things, but nevertheless, the ego continues to work through us. Let's see. So raising your vibration, again, puts you in a position that it's kind of like a game. So a game system. So if you're on level 3, that's because we're in the 3D, you're on level 3, there's only certain things that are available to you. Per se, than if you're on level 5, you might have a lot of other things that, it's kind of like my kids play Animal Crossing or Minecraft or something like that. But again, it's like as you move up on the levels, the more and you accomplish, it opens up a new level for you. So if you're keeping your vibration low, you're glass ceiling yourself in. Forget about what the man's doing to you. You're putting the own ceiling on yourself. So it's, again, within your favor to manage whatever emotion that's causing you distress. So, just a little tidbit. So let's go ahead and pull from the Lightworker Oracle. It's by Blue Angel. I like them. They're really, really pretty cards. So we'll go ahead and shuffle the best that I can. And we're going to pull 2 cards. We're going to pull 1 card for what is your soul's motivation, and what is something that you need to know to get to the next level, to move forward. What's important for you to know that you could be working on, that Spirit's trying to get your attention with. So, first, what is... Whoa. Okay. So we're going to just do this one first. Okay. So your soul's motivation. And then I'm going to do... Well, that's not working very well. There we go. Oh, I got one of these again this morning. So I guess I'm on track with what I'm supposed to be talking about, because these are the messages that I get. And I think that that's kind of the point of this, that I'm trying to learn as to what I kind of go through during the day, or what I'm working through is maybe something that the Spirit, at least such far as what I know, they want me to share as I'm doing pulling cards. So the first thing for what's your motivation is 39. So that's good. So remember, 38 is what we're talking about with shame and working through fear to be able to bump yourself out of that, because that the vibration of 38 doesn't really allow you a lot of great gifts. So this one is 39, which is divine gifts or talents, which as you bump, if you think about it, as you bump yourself out of a lower vibration up again, you open yourself up to new opportunities, but you also open yourself up to new gifts. So remember, we all have these gifts available to us. It's just getting to a place that door opens up. So that's nice. So that must mean that I'm moving out of the 38. See ya, suckers. Thank you very much. I got to get out of that 38. That is no fun. As you know, I could laugh about it, but in the midst of feeling just horrible about myself or my life or my situation, ooh, that is a terrible feeling. Terrible. Okay, so divine talents. It's on page 114. So divine intervention along with temperance. So the angel is being patient with yourself as you come into your gifts. So some of you may be experiencing some new gifts, particularly with the new moon that was, at the end of February. I mean, there was a huge change. Actually, the other day, too, like something, I've gotten some trance or something. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Hope I'm not going crazy. I love kachumba. I mean, kombucha. I like to call it kachumba. It's kombucha, though. But I love it. You guys should try it. I don't drink Diet Pepsi anymore, so this is what I'm drinking now. But it's expensive. It's like $3.99 for one little bottle. I'm like, what the hell? All right, anyways, back to our divine talents. You are a talented soul. Over many lifetimes, you have developed your spiritual abilities to channel higher awareness. Good for you. Attract healing energy and radiate light to uplift the consciousness of those around you. You know what? You'd be surprised. One of the things that Spirit is always telling me is when you walk past someone, look them in their eyes and smile. Don't just kind of, well, I guess you can do whatever you want, but they encourage us because that's the way that we connect. If you hear the idea that, you know, you can see the soul through someone's eyes. The eyes are the connection to the soul. It's true. So just simply looking at someone, you would be surprised that, you know, I guess working in the prison system and kind of just seeing like just, it was just just an oppressing environment, you know, and everything about it was. So one of the things that kind of calls me to mind is that just simple acts of kindness, we don't recognize what a huge deal that those might actually be for people that, you know, are really struggling. And if I think, you know, in times that I've been really low and really down, just a little act of kindness, just a smile or a hug, or someone opens up your door or brings you home a coffee, or just the simple little things. So this idea of divine talents, I guess the reason why they're having me talk about this is because often we think about divine talents as these like huge things, when really the huge divine talent is unconditional love. And that's something that we're born innately with. And it's about learning how to use that and make it into a craft of your own. But anyways, okay. So attract healing energy. Oh, I know I brought that up is because, you know what? By doing some simple act of kindness, some random acts of kindness is healing. That's helping others heal. In that moment when someone felt like no one gave two bits about them, but then as you walked up and you said good morning and you smiled and walked on by, not that changed their whole life, but in that moment that made a difference. They connected with another human being. If anything, they got outside of themselves in the same sense of what we need to do for ourselves. If you know what you're struggling right now, is being able to get outside of yourself just for a little bit, even if it's just for 10 minutes, you know, however long it is, just getting outside of your own problems, recognizing the problem will still be there. You don't have to go looking for it after you're done. But give yourself a break, give yourself a breather. And if you can, give someone else a breather too. I know, like when I am very helpful, when I feel like, you know, I made someone feel okay, or I helped someone recognize something, or I just helped hold a space for someone to do some healing. It makes me feel amazing. I love it. And it motivates me to want to take better care of myself. So, I mean, it's just reciprocal. I mean, it's kind of like the infinity sign. You know, the infinity sign, we have a tendency to look at as it like, you know, like the vastness of the universe, or infinity, like my love for you is to infinity. But truthfully, I mean, something very basic about the infinity sign is just the idea of giving and receiving, and having a balance of giving and receiving. So if you end up giving too much, guess what? You kind of screw yourself out of receiving. That's just the way the universe works. So it's about you learning how to balance that out. So if you're someone that's sitting there saying, I get, you know what, never get nothing. Everybody's taking. Well, you better go look in the mirror, because you're the person that's giving all that shit away. So that's not to say that, you know what, you didn't meet some assholes that took too much, because that may be true. But being able to kind of be more, look at your own self and figure out what it is that you're doing or that you're not doing, or that possibly you could change or flip up a little bit to improve your situation. So it says, attract healing energy and radiate light to uplift the consciousness of those around you. We were just talking about that. Yeah, you raise the consciousness of those around you, you automatically raise your own consciousness. Your divine talents are many and uniquely expressed through you. Your talents do not have to resemble those of another, to have your own value to them. Do not be afraid to use them. You know what? You might come into some talents that A, you never knew you had, B, might feel a little uncomfortable in what that means, because a lot of things, again, are very backwards that I think as time moves on, we maybe could talk more about, because just this idea even about vanity, about wanting to project out a persona. I mean, some people are born to do that because the light lies within them. And so what some might be like, oh, that person's like gets around a little bit, or oh, that person's pretty vain. We don't necessarily know the whole truth in that, you know what, maybe by projecting that and doing those things, that actually is something that's quite healing. And that's one of the things that I've come to understand a little bit more, that some of our backwards ways was actually the right way to do it. You know, being baptized in dirty water, that's where the change happens. This idea of these spiritual masterminds, whether it's ascended masters, whether it's Jesus, whatever it is that your belief is, these people, these beings, these light beings, didn't walk the earth in a single file. You know what? Made choices, made decisions, stories that we don't even know about, that we will come to understand. That, again, the change, the growth, the healing happened from the mistake, from the fall, not always walking straight up. And I think as we're coming into this different place and understanding that we're changing, the world is changing, understanding that our falls are what has made us great. Now, it doesn't mean you want to keep falling, you know, for the rest of your life, because that, you know, eventually you're going to be like, this shit sucks. But recognizing when you're looking, you know, in back of you, that all of those mistakes are things that brought you today to even be thinking, to even be investing in some different ways of being, some ways that maybe don't come naturally to you because of your upbringing or because of whatever that may be. So the divine talents are a way in which the universe reminds us what we are here to do. So if you start seeing some things that are popping up, like, you know, light language for me is something that is clearly wanting to come from me. And I'm getting used to that. You know, what's going on with you that's changed? You know, have your dreams changed? Are you really interested in painting or creating? Have you been obsessing about rearranging something or redoing something, renovating something? You know, are you obsessed with like learning about things? Understand that some of those obsessions are what feels like you just like, I gotta do this. It's your soul calling to you because there's a gift that's likely inside of that, or maybe it's just obvious. It's an obvious gift. Just your soul is calling you to use, because that at some point is going to come not only in handy for yourself, but again, the idea, the law of oneness, and handy for me, for everyone. That's how we're the ripple effect. Whatever we throw into the water ripples out and affects the water that's next to it, and that water affects the water that's next to that, and that affects the shoreline, and that affects the sun. I mean, if you can see how that happens. Okay. This oracle also reminds you to do what makes you happy. So, you know what? Have some good times. If you're feeling bad, do something that makes you feel better. Take a bath, take a shower, go work on a craft, go get your nails done, go visit someone, have a cup of coffee, you know, do something that maybe is not necessarily going to get you going down that same road. You know, I mean, if like you're an alcoholic, don't go out and get drunk, you know, well, I suppose you can, but probably not going to help you for the next day. But do something that still makes you feel good, but is not going to take you down the same path. So it says, this oracle reminds you to do what makes you happy, to chase your sacred bliss and express yourself in the world via unique to your abilities, growing more comfortable with being different. It's okay to be different. It's okay for not everyone to like you or get you. You know, I mean, not everyone gets me. And definitely, you know, you can talk about the other day with this thing about, even bulls don't like me. So, you know what? It's about learning to kind of come into your own skin and what that ends up looking like. And, you know, you're not everyone's cup of tea. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. That's the way it works. But getting okay with that, getting comfortable with that. You're on your own life path, and you shall succeed. So, you know what? Thinking here, not here. Here is where the fear-based rumbles. And that's not to say that you're going to be able to stop that, because our brains are connected. And actually, the more meditation and the more self-care and whatever your ritual is to open up your crown, to allow the universe, the energy, spirit, however you view it, to come in and support you, the better. Do that. You know, allow yourself to breathe in what's being offered to you right now. Breathe in that air so then you can release what needs to be released and move down the line onto something that's far more fulfilling, and believing wholeheartedly. You have to believe, or otherwise, like Santa ain't coming if you don't believe. But trying to believe wholeheartedly that what it is you're experiencing is your truth. And you just keep plugging away, you just keep working at it. And this idea of patience, this idea of divine timing, this idea of moving through it, not trying to get around it, move through it. Eventually you get to a place that you're like, whoa, okay. And then you open yourself up to new information that's more meaningful, or meaningful in a different way, or just allows you to get to the next level. So, divine grace, the law of efficiency. Now, I got this morning. As you can see, there's two people that are pictured in it. And it kind of reminds me of like, well, what this reminded me this morning of is it's like a divine couple and how it works for healing. The divine masculine is in the process of healing right now, and is really reaching a point where he's putting, or she, whatever, the masculine energy is putting their heart out on the line and listening to their heart. They're doing something that's very uncomfortable for them. But they've opened themselves up to a different way of doing something. So this is like a huge feat for the masculine, who has really struggled getting to this concept that there's something larger than himself. You know, the life has kind of revolved around him. And there's lots of reasons as to why that is. But the masculine is opening itself up. And part of the reason that the masculine is opening himself up is because the divine feminine back here has healed.